Twitter Spaces malfunctioning.
Good evening, Kapil. I think I heard about you in 2018. I started reading your books, listening to your podcast, watching your stuff on YouTube, and for years, nothing changed. And over the last few weeks, something inside of me changed, and I don't know how it happened. I mean, I do know how it happened. I kept listening to your stuff, and I would literally listen to you for 5 hours a day, read your books. I'm not saying this to show off, but I would probably read your books 20, 30 times. I don't understand it. I don't know why nothing is changing. And then until recently, it's like I felt it in my body. Everything changed. It's like everything all of a sudden just hit me and everything made sense. So I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. I honestly don't know where I would be without you. And I genuinely, genuinely mean this because things were not going good. I was filled with anxiety, filled with turmoil, filled with pain in my mind. My mind was taking over my whole life. And then over the last 4 years, as I've been on this journey, I can finally say, even though I don't want to say it, I kind of hesitate saying it, but I can finally say that I understand the truth and everything that you've been saying. And I know you'll probably say it wasn't you, it was the words coming through you, but it definitely was you. I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. I don't really have a question, but I just wanted to let you know thank you so much for everything you do. Genuinely mean it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I struggle around knowing when to listen to my mind. When during my regular life, my mind is very supportive and my internal dialogue is very positive, but around sports.
Can one come to see the reward he recognizes he's been chased without first obtaining or
Well, intellectual, you're reading something intellectually does not give someone the experience of recognizing it for themselves.
Ask like many things that we do in life, so sometimes it goes against the society, like some decisions, some personal decisions, even against the parents and the society. So then it's like a mental torture, that are we doing right, are we doing wrong, like something inside us tells to do this way in this particular thing, and other people says to go in.
So do you believe the way of society is correct?
So what has been told till now, I don't find anything correct till now. But they say that if you will keep doing this, you will come in trouble in future. You will keep coming in trouble.
And what
That makes me a
and
little fearful.
and how old are you?
So I'm 20. I'll be turning 28.
So in 28 years, you have received that advice many times.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the if you keep doing this, you will get that. Has that in 28 years, has that been true in your experience? Not based upon what people said, but if you examine what actually happened, which nobody can argue with, everybody can argue with. So and so believes this, and so says this, and so believes this, and some guru says this, and some friend says this, and some expert says that, but
Mm.
no one can argue with your experience. So, in your experience, has that keep doing it and one day it will come, has that worked?
So it has never worked because I have been always a rebellious child, like not like really going against everything and doing the things in my own way, and
Okay.
so that is something. Sometimes I feel confident, but sometimes it shakes me in fear that what if this happens with me? So
Okay.
this is the
So,
thing.
so you have done things your own way.
Yeah.
And do you believe that you will stop doing your own way and begin doing things that society tells you to do?
Sir, it is very difficult for a person like me to really do that. I don't know why, but it has been
I
since
just
3 years.
ask you, it doesn't require a long answer. Do you
Uh,
believe that you will stop doing what you have always done, which is to do it your own way, and you will make a 180-degree turn and begin doing what society tells you to do?
no, sir, no.
Okay. So if the answer to that question is no, then what is the use of asking your original question, which is, should I do what society says? Because sometimes, even though I do it my way, I feel like I may be wrong. It doesn't matter because, as you have just stated, you're not going to do that anyway. So there's no question to be asked. You're just looking to feel good. You're just looking to feel good about uh, not either doing it your own way or looking to feel good for not having done it society's way. But as you have established, it doesn't matter what the answer to your so called question is. The question isn't really a question because you already know that regardless of what the answer is, you're still going to do it your own way. Therefore, the question has no meaning.
Namaste, Kapil. Like the first speaker said, I am deeply grateful for your work as well. I haven't been exposed to your work for as long, but it's been like 4 months, and I resonate with every single word of yours, and I can't thank you enough. I have this burning question that's been haunting me, and I really hope I'm able to articulate it, and please bear with me as I frame it. So this question is, it pertains to my daily practice and as it relates to prescription. And over the I have tried so many meditation practices and mindfulness and whatnot. But in the past 2 years, I was seriously pursuing a yogic technique or a yoga practice, as the guru of this practice puts it. I don't know if you consider the ancient scriptures of yoga and Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, for example, as prescriptions. But of late, I this question of if this is this practice really taking people to enlightenment, and some of the arguments that are posed by the teachers and also the guru is, the first quality of a seeker is to understand that you don't know what you don't know. And then when a guru, who is someone who sheds light on the darkness, is showing you the way, that is a wise thing to follow. But then I go back and say, in my logical mind, I don't know if I'm progressing or not. But then the argument again from them is, these are all like lifetimes worth of karma that has built up, and these practices are basically burning it. So if you ask, why hasn't these thousands of people haven't achieved enlightenment? Every one of them is working through their own karma of this lifetime and also the past lifetimes. So I am stuck. It could be a sunk cost fallacy. I've put in so much work. I do see a lot of changes in me. I cannot put whether it is a good change or a bad change, but I am turmoil. So how do you see this? Is this still, am I asking the right questions? Is this following prescriptions that I'm ready to abandon everything and just seriously examine myself? What is the path that my inner voice would ask me?
I think it's about examining your experiences and examining your results. So, a lot of people, I mean, these things that you're saying have been around for centuries. Now, are they true? They might be. They might be. Maybe there's karmic debt that has to be paid. Like there's so many things that a human being simply does not know, and therefore, um, it it is sincerity to recognize the fact that, you know, there may be relevance to what that individual is saying, or there may not be. Bottom line is you don't know. Therefore, if you don't know, all you can do is go based upon your own examination. What is insincere is to say, that I will just follow everything that someone says and I'll believe the things that they tell me and whatever practice they ask me to do, I will do. Unless there's been some consistent results that an individual has gotten, and those are the results, at least in the direction of what they're looking for, then it's based upon faith. And in order for faith to be given, there has to be some tangible result that can allow someone to generate. If there's nothing happening and it's pure faith, that's up to the individual if they wish to go that path. That's a personal decision. But it isn't about should you listen to them or should you not. But what I can tell you is this: there isn't a single person that you'll meet in your life who does not prescribe. It will never happen. You can search the world up and down, go to every nation, every village of every country in the world, from the mountains to the seas, to the rivers, to the oceans, to the forests, to the jungle, whatever, wherever you go. It's not going to happen. Therefore, if one establishes for themselves, not by listening to me, but if they establish it for themselves, that prescriptions don't lead anyone anywhere, and then they are given prescription, then that's something that they have to decide for themselves if that is a path that resonates with them. It isn't you should or you should not, and that's right and that's wrong. One has to use his own intelligence. One has to use his own capabilities of discrimination and deciphering and weeding out and allowing in. If someone does not know about, which really almost no one does, except for the 14 people who listen to me, then they don't even recognize that prescription. Don't. In fact, that question never even arises. The fact that how to is a road to nowhere is a vastly otherworldly and antithetical and entirely against its outer space. No one would even think to go there. Therefore, one reflexively and by default follows those. So that's what I have to say to you. I cannot tell you what you should do or not do, but those are things that looking in that logical way through your own self may help to provide you with the path that is most appropriate for you.
Hi, Kapil. This is my question. Once the desire and devotion to conquering the mind is there and it's sincere, how does the path looks like?
Very detailed. I can't describe that for you. It's very detailed, very systematic, and it really there's no way that I can describe that to you.
Okay, thank you.
Hello. So, I actually discovered you through listening to Naval, and I really liked what you had to say. So, my take on my original take on what you were saying was, it seemed almost pessimistic on certain inherent, like, human psychological traits, but 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 after doing, like, more thought, it I can kind of see why you were saying what you were saying. So, success itself, the path is actually painful. Like the majority of the path is painful.
So, do you have a
Yes, I do.
question?
I do. So, I was going to say, what would be your advice for a student looking to go into business, but instead it's more so, how does one not look for prescriptions and just go off of their own instinct and intellect, as you said?
I don't understand what you mean by how do you not look for prescription? I mean, what does that mean? How do you how do you not look for a new pair of shoes? How do you not look to buy a new car? I don't understand the question. I don't understand how do you not look for something? It makes no sense.
Hi Kapilji. So I have a question. Like I observe a lot of your tweets where you say that the world is mostly chaotic, and you also speak about the self-help coaches and life coaches, that how they are not grooming people. But in this age, like for examples, an individual is aspiring to transform people, but not necessarily in a chaotic manner. So what kind of path they should choose if we aspire to transform people, not in this mainstream way of pouring in lots of information, but necessarily in a spiritual way.
I think all life coaches, if they had any sincerity at all, would quit their job tomorrow. It's not going to happen.
Can seeking truth be in and itself a seek for pleasure? At what point does one know?
It depends upon what one's understanding is of seeking the truth. The answer to your question is yes, because anything can be misunderstood.
you say that prescription does a lot of harm to people than good. But my question is how to move forward if we don't listen to others because we were so conditioned by.
If someone has a lack of desire for getting what they want, is there any other factor that can get them get them what they want or to accomplish their dreams, or is desire the only factor there?
What has your experience of unlearning society's falsehoods been like?
Frustrated with every aspect of their life, whether it is work, whether it is a personal life, whether it is, and obviously you say prescriptions do not work, and I completely, I mean, I partly agree because the same set of rules don't apply for everyone. But at the same time, dealing with everyday frustrations is becoming more and more difficult, and no matter what I try, it just doesn't seem to leave me with any sort of peace of mind. Any sort of
So are you new here?
Sir,
Are you new here?
I am new here, yes, sir.
Okay. The questions that you ask will tend to answer themselves, especially the question that you're asking, or the type of question that you're asking, will tend to answer itself if you happen to delve into my work. And it must be understood, vehemently understood, that I'm not suggesting that you should. But a lot of people who come here tend to come here after having read my work for quite a while. Therefore, they they tend to have the answers to the type of question that you're asking already, not because I gave them the answer, but because it sort of arrived, it came to them through the reading. There's some basic foundations that about truth that you just don't have, and that's fine. Most don't. But if you, by some chance, happen to delve into the work, and not by you doing any work, just reading it or listening to it, and a lot of the questions, I could give you the opportunity to ask 500 questions, and most of them would take care of themselves because it's already in the work, so to speak.
Thank you, sir. We'll do that.
Hi Kapil, uh, I'm new here and I don't know what to ask.
Hi, Kapil. I have a question. Reading your book, A Master Secrets Whispers, there's one part when you say, I've learned that thought is a liar, and I have learned that feeling is closer to the truth. Sometimes the thoughts influence our feelings. So I wanted to your thoughts on how you describe the feeling that is not influenced by thoughts, if that makes sense.
Why does it matter?
Good question.
And the whole thing is that when we are talking about conditioning, and I've been inquiring myself about conditioning, I have figured out that there is so much of conditioning which I have been embedded with in my life. Coming out of it, and now I see there are situations when I feel that I'm not acting or I'm not responding to the conditioning which I had previously. But the thing is, when I inquired more or when I thought about it more, I see that my conditioning which I have right now have not been solved or not been there, not because I wanted to come out of it, but what I see is that I feel that why should I be conditioned for because of or why should I be conditioned by other people or something like that. What I feel is that I've been it is me or it is I which is getting me out of the conditioning. But is this the same conditioning I'm getting into, or is this another kind of conditioning which I'm building around myself? So I don't understand this. If you can give me something about that.
It depends if you're how much you are subscribing to prescriptions during the process.
Hello. Hi, couple. This is Arjun here. I just wanted to know what got you onto this journey or this path. Was there like an incident in your life?
Hey Kapil, what are your thoughts on outcome independence? Because outcome independence is
Arriving at one's destination at one's goals, is it natural for a new destination or goal to arise, or is this an example of another?
This is Roshan. I've been reading your works and listening the podcast for a long time now, and like I have realized few times like I feel like have understood some truths about your work, like a few things, but it's not constant. I mean, like I sometimes feel like I know like every thinking, every thought I have in my head is to feel good about myself. It's like feeling having the craving to give the pleasure to myself, or like some of the mind habit.
Hi, couple. I wanted to ask you about stripping down sort of to the essentials. I've read a great deal of your work as well, and that process of entering a more quiet, inactive, sort of patient space as you are stripping away a lot of the noise and prescriptions and inessentials. And if you could speak perhaps to that transition where perhaps the
Um, isn't our presence here just a testament of our conditioning to ask for anything from somebody else?
Up to you.
Hello, Kapil. One thing that I still am shocked by is how different the dynamic between teacher and student is from what I thought it was or what I grew up believing it was. And my question is when, as I know you don't like the idea of being a teacher, but when you have knowledge to impart or truth to impart, and there is some expectation from whoever it is that you are engaging with, that you are benevolent, that your teaching is coming from a place of benevolence, what is it that allows you to keep with the truth, or what does it allow that allows you to see the truth as what does it allow that allows you to the truth even when it's the person expects benevolence from you? If that
I don't care what people expect. I'm not interested in teaching anyone, nor do I care if they get it or not, nor am I trying to be benevolent. I just, I just speak. I'm just interested in speaking the truth.
Agape, what is pain?
Hey, Gabriel. My question is about transcending the mind. Throughout some of your discourses and your talks, you say something along the lines of the mind does not wish to die and how it'll fight to the death in order to preserve itself.
Are you going to ask me
No,
how?
I'm asking you, like, there's certain memories and thoughts that arise to where there's a like being poked in the arm with a needle. There's an automatic flinching and automatic identity, and whether it be guilt or shame or fear, without any real context behind it. My question is there an underlying context behind these to where they need to be investigated, or is it simply coming to an understanding that they're all lies and just empty attempts from the mind to survive?
That's a very big question. I think one first has to be in a position where they're able to understand what a lie is and what truth is. And even things that sound that simple really are not. And the reason that they're not as simple is because one comes from a certain place. And the place that he comes from is a place of years and years and years of conditioning. If he had come as a neutral person, then he would have entered at zero. And therefore, at zero, he can see below him and he can see above him. But when he arrives at negative 4,625, he doesn't know where zero is. And he certainly doesn't know where plus two is. So because he arrives at negative 4,625, uh, he comes as someone who can't even utter a word because he is not in a place to understand even the word the, because he doesn't arrive at zero. So it's almost anything that that person asks, he is asking it from the place of negative 4,625. Therefore, he It is his desire to want to not be there that is his greatest asset. If he thinks he knows something, and if he thinks that he even knows a question to ask, he will fail because the question that he asks is a question that is born of his negative 4,625 ness.
Why is sustained success in one's craft, why can it be boring sometimes? Is it because
Hey, I had a question about, I guess, therapy, and I hear a lot of people talking about they go through something bad, and it seems like their advice they get is to look at their childhood or whatever, and it just kind of popped in my head like, something good happens. I don't hear a lot of people saying, you get a promotion or you get that job or the car or whatever, and it's like, well, let's look at your childhood. Didn't know if you had any thoughts on that or.
Well, psychologists really don't know anything about the mind. Psychiatrists essentially just prescribe medication. The psychiatrists these days are basically psychopharmacology. Psychologists want to talk about your childhood, and they believe that the talking about things actually gets you somewhere, where it's just all swirling muddy water. So the life coaches, the gurus, the this coach, that coach, the therapist, this and that. And listen, I'm not saying someone's in a psychotic state and or is in a suicidal or homicidal place that they need medication. I'm not talking about that. I mean, obviously that needs intervention, be it medication or whatever it requires. That's fine. That's an emergency type situation. Or people who are really, in catatonic states. I mean, those are different situations. But the idea of this therapy that I'm going to come to you and you're going to ask me, what is my problem? Well, I feel fear about something, let's say, and the therapist is going to say, well, why do you feel fear? And you're going to say, well, I don't know, this thing squares me. Well, what do you think that can be done about that? And let's think of some strategies and let's think of some solution. And next time that happens, maybe you can wait 5 seconds and maybe you can take deep breaths and maybe you can meditate and maybe you can do X, Y, and Z. Maybe you can do 5 jumping jacks and 16 sit-ups. These things are juvenile. They are not for serious people. And what you have in the world is a compendium and a mass populace of unserious and insincere individuals who have been conditioned to seek cosmetic use. They have been taught to chase makeup and eyeshadow. So in every single field, you see makeup and eyeshadow. That's all it is. It is swirling muddy water. So your instincts are correct. These things don't get anyone anywhere. But it doesn't mean that people should stop doing it, largely because nobody really wants to get anywhere anyway. Therefore, those who give nothing and then those who look for nothing, it's a match made in heaven.
That's awesome. Thank you.
You don't know anything.
Hi, Kapil. Uh, there is something that I learn and understand reading your art, your books. It's about there is nothing is important. We don't need to chase anything because uh,
But it must be understood, and I'm not saying that you mean it this way, but it must be clearly understood that I'm not saying to people that you shouldn't chase this and nothing is important and all the, even though it's true, but to tell someone that they should not do this or that nothing is important, so drop everything. Those things don't go anywhere. So I'm not interested in telling anyone. If they find that out for themselves through their own experiences, then it means something. If they just listen to me and memorize it, it doesn't mean anything.
yes.
Are there any modern day people that have inspired you?
No.
Can one be sincere and truthful, seek ultimate success in some aspects of his life, but not so in other aspects of his life?
Yes.
I suffer from an auto has no. Is this just what nature has in store, or is there any?
Namaskaram, Siddha.
Does human life have a purpose?
Skeptical of everything. So my question is, where exactly am I standing now? Like, I feel that every
I don't know where you're standing.
every turn I take is a sophisticated new trap, and every perception is distorted.
Well, that's what society has done to you. That's what spirituality, societal notions, self help, self development, success, tips, tricks, methods, techniques, hacks, everything that whenever you've opened the window and whenever you've walked out your door for as long as you've lived, that's what's been pounded into you. Therefore, that's all you know. So there should not be any outrage about that.
Hmm.
There, that is what's going to happen
Yes.
when someone lives in society. So that's what else can be in there besides garbage? What else can be in there? Because garbage was put there. No, you didn't want to put garbage there. You didn't try to put garbage. You didn't prefer to have garbage put there. But it wasn't until many, many, many years before the notion even came about that what has been put into your brain is garbage.
I'm sorry, I lost my question. I'll need to return.
Kapil, I wrote the question, but basically it was that if I heard from you that if the desire is there, is there. So is it possible to somehow fuel a specific desire?
I don't think something can be manufactured.
Morning, everyone. How are you?
With other people, I say or do things for a reaction or things like that. So I'm wondering, what is the truth behind the need for this validation or a need from for others' attention?
So if I say it's this, you gonna stop?
I don't think whatever specific things that you say is would make a difference. It's more so what needs to be investigated in there. That might be a question for myself rather.
Yeah, and I think that would be a fair question for yourself. That's a very common thing. And if someone doesn't like that, then I think I agree. I think what you said is it's a very fair question.
Thank you.
Thank you for the space. Um, my question is basically I've been down through a many professionally wise paths where I found myself in the right path at the moment, but somehow I got into a space that the next step looked to me like an abyss and I have to go back. So, what does constitute evidence that I am the right path?
There is no right path.
Hello, Kapil. Thank you. I have a problem, and that is that I'm constantly seeking some shard of information that I hope will take me somewhere. And I think the reason behind this is because although I understand that from a logical level, and I've after a year, I feel like I have a decent understanding that instruction is fragmented and rarely takes you where you want to go, if never. But there's been these small instances, for example, in golf. Not that I'm an excellent golfer by any means. I refuse to read or listen to instruction or coaches or anything, and um, over time, my handicap stayed the same. It never changed. And then one day, I golfed with a friend who was better than myself, and he pointed out, "You're, it's something that you've talked about," and he said, "You're swinging at the ball," and it was very little. And then when I went and golfed the next day without him, shaved 5 off my handicap, and he was right. Like what he was saying was true, and it made a difference. And I think because there's been small moments like that where I've heard some truth from somebody, um, and it helped. It keeps me on the hook, so I'm constantly like day in and day out, almost 24/7, combing through information, searching for shards of truth. But it's exhausting, and it doesn't lead me to greatness. It's small, silly things, but
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with anything. I mean, if it once again, I have said before, if it's something menial, it's prescriptions work fine. If you want to learn how to tie your shoe, you can get a prescription for that. If you want to know how to hammer a nail, you can get a prescription. Turn on a computer, you get a prescription for that. So if someone told you that don't swing at the ball, okay, I mean, that's fine. Um, but if someone wants something substantial, if somebody wants something that is lasting, if somebody wants something that is significant in the domain of life, in the domain of mind, in the domain of arriving at any semblance of permanence or consistency, or reproducibility, be it in life or their craft or sports, business, whatever it may be, uh, then prescriptions don't have the bandwidth for that. Prescriptions can take you to the very, very, very minimal place. It's like a minimum wage type place. You can be taught how to flip a burger, so there is utility for it, but everything that I talk about is from a different place. Anyone who comes to my domain has to understand from the very outset that the things that I talk about are from the level of ultimate, legend, world class, becoming a master of life, sports, business, whatever it is. So I come from there. And because I live in that domain, then everything that I say is colored by my coming from there. I don't come from the tie your shoe and turn on the computer and hammer a nail. And if someone does come from there, then it would make sense why they would talk about prescriptions. The problem is that everyone's talking about whether they want to get you to world class or hammer a nail. So in the world today, wherever you go, there's grass and pavement. Wherever you go, anywhere you go in the world, there's grass and pavement. So or dirt or rocks or gravel. Okay, it's the same way with prescriptions. They're literally that literally is all there is. There's not this part of the world who prescribes and this part of the world who doesn't. There's not these coaches who prescribed and these types of coaches who don't. There is no separation. Every last one, Buddha prescribed. I mean, there's nobody who doesn't, not only doesn't not do it, there's nobody whose even foundation isn't based upon it. It isn't a tool. That's the only tool they have. So if you went to every so-called coach and took away their prescriptions, they'd be mum. They had nothing to do. They had nothing to say. Nothing. Zero. It would be over. Their career would be finished. Nothing would exist. And that tells you just how dependent and just how saturated and just how ubiquitous prescriptions are in the world. And in fact, they are the only thing that exists in the world, in every field, from top to bottom, from the highest levels to the lowest level, from the far east to the far west. There is no one, not a single person. Now, you have these copycat accounts who copy my work, basically. It's basically plagiarism that have shown up and they talk on their site. It's not about prescriptions. I'm not going to prescribe to you. So you have these things popping up left and right. I've been informed of all these websites people are creating and coaching services they're creating, and they're talking about no prescriptions. Obviously, they're going to fold because they have no, there isn't it's like taking a plant and then it's like taking a palm from a tropical climate and then replanting it in Alaska. You can do it. It's not going to last because there's no foundation. There's no lifelong devotion. There's no once you till away the first quarter inch of soil, there's nothing. So that's what you have. That's what you have found. And so there's nothing wrong with what you're saying. I learned a tip, and the tip helped. Sure, tips can help. Are they going to take you somewhere? No, but maybe it helped you to some degree, and you got happy by the way in which it helps you, and that's perfectly fine. I didn't say prescriptions don't help. I have consistently said they help with menial things, but the message is often lost because it is a default setting that one should understand when they enter my domain, that everything that I say is from the level of world classness and greatness and legendary status and mastery. And therefore, if that isn't understood, then one is going to say, well, I found a tip and the tip helped me. and fine, it didn't last, but it helped me some. Is there something wrong? What's wrong with that? And the answer is nothing. But I'm not talking about tying shoes, turning on computers, and hammering nails.
And my question isn't that that helped me, so is it fine if I pursue it? Like my
No, that's
it's
not your question. Your
it
question is
keeps stuck.
because the tip did help you, that keeps you addicted to
Yeah.
looking for more tips which might help you. I know your question. I understand.
Yeah, hi. I have a problem reconciling arriving at truth, at peace, detachment from outcome where nothing matters, with seriousness towards mastery or goal or motivation. To me, those things look contradictory, as if you have to trade in some of the peace to have the desire and the seriousness.
Well, everything is going to look contradictory to you because you understand it only on a superficial and intellectual level. Therefore, everything will look contradictory. That's why intellectuals can never know truth.
Hi, Kapil. I once heard you, and I don't want to. If I'm wrong, I apologize. But I once heard you say that when you make a change, you always change back, so it's not permanent. I'm just wondering why that is. What makes a change permanent?
Well, because that's basically the foundation of self-help and self-development, because everything's based upon cosmetics. So if the root of something is not affected, then a thing will change back. Just because you bend it doesn't mean it won't bend back. So everything is done by force. Everything is done by uh, cosmetic behavioral changes. Say this, don't say that. Change your tone, change this. And therefore, because the root of the matter is never even sniffed, then the change back is inevitable. And that's why self help, self development, spirituality, that entire industry is completely baseless. It has no foundation. It should have already crumbled. And the only reason it hasn't is because people are looking for cosmesis and they don't know anything other than prescriptions.
May I ask a following question?
Hey, am I on now? Well, I'll assume I am because I see that I'm speaking. But so the last guy, what you said it was only cosmetic, not at the root. Could you give an example of how something would be at the root? If someone did do something at the root, what it would be the change?
Well, what don't you understand about it being cosmetic?
No, that I do understand, but I wonder if there's an example of something being changed at the root.
Well, it's the true essence of things, the true cause of something. No one knows the cause of anything because they don't spend years investigating. Everyone's basically just a cosmetic peddler. Everyone peddles every industry from medicine, engineering,
But so I'm saying, but
finance.
are there ever times when it's not that? And
No, it's not.
okay, so
It's never not that. The only way it is not that if it comes from a place of truth, which doesn't exist in the world.
okay, so you're saying it would doesn't exist. So are you saying that's impossible or just doesn't happen?
No, I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying it's impossible. I do it all the time.
You do what all
But
the
what
time?
I don't know what you don't understand.
I don't know what you do all the time.
Are you new here?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's nothing that I can say to you that will satisfactorily explain to you what it is that I do. I don't even know what so maybe you'll get a better understanding of what it is and if it actually resonates with you or not.
Well, you were saying I do it all the time in response to I forget exactly what I said. I said I said it's
Well,
impossible.
it's about arriving at the truth about it.
Okay, so you feel that you arrive at the truth at all.
I don't feel anything, I just do.
Okay, so you do arrive at the truth. Does that mean that you have done changes that are permanent?
Sure. Of
Okay,
course.
can you give an example of that? That's what I'm asking.
No, I can't give you an example of that. Do you know why?
Why?
Because you won't understand it.
Okay.
And then if
But
I
but
say,
but but but
hang
but
on, no,
that's
stop,
that's that's a
stop.
big
You asked a
assumption.
question. You
That's a
you
big
asked a question.
assumption.
No, you asked a question. I knew you were going
So
to
so
come back.
maybe is it
I knew you were
possible
going to
other
come
people?
back. You going to let me respond, or you want me to just hang up on you?
I don't give a fuck. It's up to
All right,
whatever you want to do.
all right.
But so can you give an example and just maybe I'll understand it, maybe I won't.
The human being, in order to understand even an example of truth, has to have self-vetted, has to have arrived at some basic foundational level of understanding that is beyond the prescriptive notion that society peddles. If they have not moved past the minus 4,565 I was talking about earlier, then any example that I give will only raise more. Therefore, they're not ready to ask that question because they're not ready to understand it. And it has nothing to do with a lack of intelligence. It has to do with the conditioning being so deep, they can only hear the things that they are used to hearing, and they can only hear it in the context that they have been told it in before. Argumentative individuals have no place here.
Will Russell Westbrook ever get a jump shot?
Yes, hello? Hello, sir. Can everyone hear me?
We can hear you. Somebody asked something about Russell Westbrook.
Yes, hello. What is your real name, Sita?
I follow Sadhguru a lot. He's one of my spiritual role models. I know you don't like the word spirituality, it's more about utility. But he kind of preaches that with the correct management of your own system, you can be in a constant state of joy, bliss, ecstasy, whatever you want to call it, with management of your life energies. And up until I heard his theory, my view of peace was basically just to not resist anything that you actually feel. And it seemed kind of contradictory to managing how you feel. And I was just curious where you fall in that spectrum. Do you believe in like this perfect management of a system where you're always just blissed out? Or do you kind of just believe in ruthlessly questioning what brings you dissatisfaction until those things don't really exist? Or maybe I'm saying the same thing, but if you could just enlighten me there, that'd be great.
I don't believe in anything.
Inviting me to the stage. So, you've written that nature has ingeniously hidden its secrets where no sane man would look. And over the past year and a half, I've realized very clearly the futility of prescriptions as it pertains to my craft of singing. And I'm constantly looking out for uh, things I haven't explored, and looking for the cause of the cause that gives me ease of expression while singing, and I what am I missing that takes me straight to the source? So last time I asked this, you asked me what is the problem, but I heard it as that is the problem, and I logged off, unfortunately. So like I have an idea about what I was doing wrong, and I know I'm on the path to effectiveness, but I'm flailing. I'm just trying things on my own. So you said you know your way to the well, so to speak, when someone asked you how do you know the path to the truth. So I'm wondering how can I go there? Like
There's no how. There's no how. There's no how to go. There's no how to go there.
so it's all about
But there's
exploring.
nothing that I. There's nothing. I mean, there's everything about your question screams prescription, and you can hide it if you like. You can use clever words if you like, but you're just not ready to hear the truth.
Thank you for taking the question. What is it about rock bottom that helps humans discover that almost immediately in some scenarios? Not all scenarios, but
Well, humans don't matter. What is it about you?
yeah. I guess to clarify, I'm wondering if I can fast track this discovery of truth without having to hit rock bottom. But then I don't know if I'm getting caught up in games with myself.
Yeah, you're getting caught up in games, but
Yeah.
it's okay. Let me use what your question is as a place to as a scaffolding from which to explain something fundamental. Anyone who arrives into my domain, what they can never understand, never intuit, and never suspect until they have been here for a while is that the rules, the perspective, the framework, and the lens through which they have viewed all parts of their life up until this before coming into this domain will not work. And there is no way if you knock on 70 million doors for your entire life, when you go to the 70 million and first one, you're not and no reasonable person would ever suspect the 70 million and first one is going to be an a reality that is basically opposite and completely contrary to even gravity moves in the opposite to the first 70 million. No one, that thought would never arise because they've never been to that kind of door before. So if someone has been here for a while, they begin to get that inkling, but oftentimes it doesn't hit home. So the notion that you brought is the idea of fast tracking, accelerating, hurry it up. That's just one of 500 billion things that you picked up from the world, and they are relevant in the places that you have been, which is the world. Those things have relevance. They don't work, but they have relevance there. That lingo, that notion, that concept, that idea, all of the notions, concepts, principles, ideas that people have, they pick them up from the world. Therefore, they know what others are talking about when they say that. So when they come into this domain, they have to shed everything. None of those things will work here. There's no five ways. There's no acceleration. Even the simplest, most sacred cow type thing that they have known in the world, they don't work here. They don't work in the domain of truth. They don't even work in anywhere, but they have they are recognizable. The lingo is in play in the world of prescription, in the world at large. And so when someone comes to the domain of truth, they can't bring that baggage. None of it will work. It isn't that they're wrong for doing so, that they're bad for doing so. It's just you cannot bring a key which doesn't work. It doesn't work here. And that's why most have a real tough time with it, because that's the only thing they've ever known. Those are the only tools and lingos and notions, concepts, ideas, principles. That's all they know. So therefore, what else is one going to say and use, and what lens is he going to see through other than the one that he has been given? So one literally has to find a new lens. One has to. Now that can't be done in the beginning. That's done through repeated failures when they recognize that, wait a minute, all these things that I thought were true, they don't work here. They never even worked there, but they don't work here. So that's using what you said as a platform to make a more fundamental point, using your question as an entry point of, in your case, it was, accelerate the process, so to speak. Somebody else might be something else. But all of those notions, they all come from a place of chasing and the world and prescriptions and how-tos. Those are all things that are lies. That's why they don't work here.
Thank you.
I thank you for inviting me to the stage. Your ideas have been a great inspiration to me of what may be possible, and I do feel like I have changed in very minor but profound. You have referenced great masters and warriors of the past as your inspiration. Yet you have given us insights that we may not find much truth in their teachings. Example, Buddha taught the middle path, but he didn't follow it. So I wonder, in what form did their inspiration come to you? Like, how were you able to see the truth in what they were saying? Or
Well, I think someone like, Buddha, I think, Buddha, Jesus, the life devotion, these people, they wanted the real true thing. They didn't want the cosmetic. They wanted all of it. They wanted the ultimate. And they became ultimate. And when Buddha first went into the forest, who did he run across? He came across the ascetics. And what did they do? What everybody does. They prescribed. Sit down, meditate under a tree, eat one grain of rice, drink your own urine, sit there for 20 hours a day, rain or shine. And what happened? He became on the verge of death and didn't get anywhere. And that's what he said. I have done all of these what these people have asked me to do. And yet after all of these years of doing all of these things, I am no closer to wisdom than I was when I left my father's house. If you want to read about the Buddha, don't read his stupid Four Noble Truths, Eightfold Paths. That's garbage. Doesn't go anywhere. Read that. No one looks at that. As usual, humans, because society teaches them lies, Humans missed the point. There was what people need to learn, not he sat under a tree and how long he meditated. That's stupid. That wasn't what causes enlightenment. If there's a teaching point in Buddha's story, it is the 7 years that he practiced prescriptions and by his own admission got nowhere and therefore left.
Hello, Sita. As a person in my early 20s who's always had a large friend circle, I am wondering, or I am asking, if it is necessary to abandon friends in order to reach.
But that isn't a real question.
Oh, okay.
That's a permission to keep having friends. That's what you're asking.
Yes.
Therefore, it's a non-question.
Hi, my question is while seeking the truth and you are on the path, is it the subconscious mind or the conscious mind that is driving you?
Forget it. Forget all that garbage. Forget that. You're way in the level of intellectualism and didactics and all of that. There's no way that you'll be able to understand the truth coming from there.
Thank you, Siddha, for providing me space to speak. I am curious to know role of mentor in showing the path towards truth. If not sharing,
I just put up a tweet today on that topic, and I believe that I also wrote a discourse about that, which you can Google about mentors.
all right.
If you've already asked a question, put your hand.
I noticed a lot in your work that how should I say it? You turn the question back onto the person a lot more than you used to. Is that because a lot of the time, by actually any type of answer that you provide, stops that person from discovering the true path of what you're actually talking about?
I mean, it really isn't about giving people a bunch of answers, but nor am I trying to help anybody. It's just about the exploration of truth, and however that comes out, it comes out. There's no strategy.
Is it possible for an ideology to be true?
Intellectualism here.
Because you asked the question, you have it.
नमस्कार जी, क्या आप हिंदी में बोल सकते हो?
Reading your discourses and your solo podcast from last 2 years now, and when I observe my life, I can see that the problems which are in my life are because of my conditioning. I can see that, but seeing that doesn't move the foundation upon which my conditioning is based. So, what am I missing out here?
You're just like the other guy who wanted to accelerate that.
Is truth subjective or objective? And if it is objective.
Hello, thank you. My question is, will I find the truth if I just want to use it to obtain worldly things?
I don't know. Leave the floor open for those who have not asked a question.
Hey, Capful. I've been listening and reading your work for maybe a year and a half now or so. My question is, I'm at a point where I read your discourse that you released maybe a few days ago or so. It was a banned interview called The Revolution. And in this discourse, the interviewer said something like, their life on the outside is completely the same, but on the inside, things are different. And when I read that, it resonated with me because it kind of explained where I'm at in my life and how your work has affected me. So my question is, it bugged me why I couldn't figure out. I wasn't sure whether the truth was actually taking an effect on me or it was some kind of illusion. So my question is, does it even matter in the first place? Am I just looking for some approval that will have no effect or provide me nothing? So that's my question.
I don't quite understand the question.
Okay, so I guess to be sure, like if the truth is having an effect on me, I've noticed that I feel it. Certain anxieties and things of that nature that I used to feel, certain things that used to arise don't arise anymore. Is it futile to be sure, to be actually sure? If doubt arises, if a doubt arises, does that matter at all?
Doubt about what?
Doubt about whether the truth is actually having an effect on me.
Well, did you not just say that the things that you used to feel, you don't feel anymore?
Right, I did. But what happens, even though I see these things, I'm still enticed by them. I'm still enticed by society in ways. When I walk outside, when I go to my job, I I lift my head up and I act a certain way. And even though I've read the truth intellectually, or maybe it's not in my bones like the way you say, maybe it's I'm sort of almost there or I'm on the way, but
Yeah, I think the answer to your question is yes. I mean, that's a chase to see, to quietly examine the effect something is having uh, is actually wise to see what effect it's having. But beyond that, it becomes a chase because once again, these are very similar to what the person asked earlier about. I forgot what word he used to accelerate sort of the progress. There's this chase. That same, you're just bringing the chase from the world towards truth and say, hurry up already. How come I'm still feeling this and that? So the answer is yes, that is superfluous.
Hello, why is truth so paradoxical? I had my question.
Couple of truths that I've gathered from your work is one is about staying in the moment and not leaving the moment. But then your work also speaks about emergence of a great vision, right? But I found that once we have,
I mean, I never told anyone to stay in the moment.
yeah, I mean, the truth is in the moment. I mean, as I understood it, that this is the moment that shouldn't be left because once.
But you have to be very careful with your words. I never said anything about should or should not anything. I never said that you should stay in the moment. I never said that truth is in the moment and that this is the moment that you should never leave. Like you can interpret it whatever way you want, but you have to be very careful with your words. Once again, you cannot bring the garbage of society into here. I did not say that you should do anything or shouldn't do anything or be in the moment because I mean that's all garbage, and that's why I have to say something because that really is garbage, and I would never say that.
Right, Kapil. No, so it's my own experience as well. When I'm in the moment, I feel the calmness of it. But when, as soon as I start planning for the future, this is where I find myself living this moment and the restlessness comes in. Right.
Yeah,
Uh,
you're too interested in the moment. It's this notion that is plaguing you. And that being that interested in the moment, all you're going to do, your question basically is going to, well, when I'm planning, I get out of the moment. So how do I get back into the moment? That's where you're going. Those things, once again, that's garbage. There's no way you can get into the moment. It's stupid. It's idiotic. It's moronic. Go ahead, try all your life to get into the moment. That's just more nonsensical, idiotic garbage, theoretical, impractical crap. The monkey mind and get into the moment. It doesn't work. You can meditate till the cows come home. You can mindful your life away. You cannot get into the moment by that's not how it works. So these questions, it's the same thing about people ask me questions about flow. When I'm in flow, I feel flow, wonderful flow. It's more intellectual nonsense. How do I get into the flow and I'm out of the flow? How do I get back into the flow? I mean, these questions, the people who ask these questions, my honest answer to them is read through my work. That's my honest answer. And that honest answer comes from a place of it might benefit you, it might not. But it doesn't come from a place of you should.
Hi. um, my question would be about environment. Um, I am fairly new here, I'm going to say, so I'm probably going to step into some sort of trap. Um, However, yeah, the question is, am I just creating a prescription for myself by feeling that I can access truth easier in certain environments than others, such as such as currently I'm in a very beautiful place. I don't have uh, much work commitments. I've left the city. When I'm in the city, I feel distracted and bombarded.
But that's still very cosmetic. I mean, because what's going to happen is that you're going to be in a more conducive and quiet environment, and then it's going to you will revert. So, environment has a big influence, but that's largely in the setting of chronicity, largely through a chronic exposure to environment. This vacation type nonsense doesn't work.
Yeah.
Things don't work that way, because as soon as you enter back into your regular life, you will snap back. And quite honestly, even if you were to stay in the permanent vacation, the environment would lose its effect. The only reason it has any effect at all is because there's a stark contrast between it and what you just came from. When that becomes your new norm, you'll look for a new vacation to get away from that. So the answer is yes, that's cosmetic. It doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Doesn't mean it's not a good thing to do. Whatever you want, do it. Don't do it. Doesn't matter. But it's cosmetic. Yes.
Good morning, everyone. मेरा नाम गोपाल.
There's no everyone. There's just me. You have a question?
You can understand Hindi.
What is the definition of success according to you?
Definitions don't go anywhere.
What time do you let go of trying to help people that you love who are not willing to help themselves or not willing to take your advice on things? It can be professional, personal, whatsoever. Thanks.
So you've tried helping people your whole life, right?
Yeah, give or take, yeah.
And was there a time that you started?
No, I don't mean this as a mentor. It's just like in professional life. Let's say you have a
You,
junior.
you, you didn't answer my question.
Okay.
You didn't answer my question. Was there a time
Mhm.
that you started helping people?
I don't recall, but yeah, I think isn't it the human nature? You like just try to help people around you.
So there was a time or there wasn't a time that you started helping people?
I don't recall. Probably I started doing this from the. I mean, I don't remember. I don't remember very clearly.
Okay. So why are you asking for a time when to stop?
No, I mean, I meant to ask is there a threshold beyond which you decide that hey, it's time to let go of this particular person because they're beyond any help?
The point is that it's not in your hands, because I
Mm-hmm.
can guarantee you one thing. You have tried to stop helping before
Mm-hmm.
and you couldn't take it, so you came back to trying to help. There's something to understand. I'll share something. It's yet another behavior and a habit that people bring to this domain from the world. When they speak in the world, they speak nonsense and they hear nonsense. So they may ask a question and they hear back blah, blah, blah. And they don't even care what they heard back and they begin asking another question. And that makes sense because whatever is said in the world is nonsense. What needs to be understood is that if somebody asks me a question, if I make a response, the words are very exquisitely, carefully chosen. And there is a reason why I'm asking it. But the person hears blah, blah, blah. I don't do blah, blah, blah. There's a reason why I'm asking. There's a reason why I chose the words that I did and arranged them in the order that I. So to come back with another question or to provide a response which does not address the specificity of the question that I pose is wasting my time.
An illusion.
Everything's an illusion, but that's a theoretical question. It has no relevance to the practicality of your life.
If we're talking about the truth, how do we know we have arrived?
There's no we.
How do I know I've arrived to the truth?
You haven't.
Hey, Kapil, I'm trying to figure out, like, for myself, is having different personas with who I am in society, who I am at home with my family, wrong or incorrect? And if getting closer to the truth is having that one persona that I'm comfortable with, or I'm not even trying to create, that just exists, or is that something that
These are all mental games, including the notion of wrong and
As far as I can see, I'm trying to become a truth seeker like you. But once in your discourses, you said that we need specific DNA to become a truth seeker like you. So, what I'm supposed to do? First, to become a master of my specific domain. First, I need to seek the truth. Then I can see things differently to become master of my domain, or there is another way.
there are no ways. There's no first this, then. There's nothing to do. You're not ready for the response.
Hi, Kapil. Just wanted to know while doing something or being in a relationship or in a situation when the pain becomes too much and too frequent, and the result or the outcome is highly uncertain, how do we keep our patience to?
I mean that I am aware what I am doing. I am
aware of my thoughts. I am aware that situation I have to act accordingly. But is there any arrival to it? I mean, end to it?
Well, everything that you said is intellectual. Everything basically that you said is I should do this, I should do that, I should do this. It doesn't go anywhere. Don't raise your hand unless you have a question.
Kapil, I just wanted to say thank you sincerely for your work.
Thank you. Life has no purpose.
I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you for everything. And my question is, when you say that everything that the mind says is a lie, I understand that a lot of my mind's content is like reactive. But like if my mind says that if you touch fire, you'll burn.
Your mind doesn't need to say that. That's already your fingers already recognize that.
Hi, Kapil. I've got my question here. I've noticed that on the path of working hard, building my company, that some people close to my life, even family, have started to seem fake, distant, have hints of jealousy when I talk to them. And it's especially true when I'm making great progress or their success, and it makes me feel like I'm losing my relationship with them. So, what would be your advice for me to deal with this? Is this inevitable?
I have number one, I have no advice. Number two, I don't dealing with things doesn't go anywhere. That's more the garbage from society. There's only truth. And then you're going to ask me what's the truth about it. I mean, you're looking for ointment. I mean, if you're getting successful and people either are not supporting you or they're jealous about it or you feel that there's some negativity coming out of it that you don't like, what are you going to do? You're going to stop being successful? What are you looking for?
Yeah.
That you should go and have a talk with them? You should try to explain to them that they shouldn't be jealous? Is that what you're going to do? The point I'm making is there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do about how you feel, nothing you can do about changing other people. Those things are complete wastes of time. And that's what you're asking for a prescription for.
Yeah.